I'm going to do a book review or two. Welcome to Life in My Shoes reviews and such. Recently, with the racial tension that we've experienced in the country, I saw an article come into my Google feed about Black artists, Black creators that are creating content in the comic arena that are putting some great content out that would be great to follow and give some attention to the content they're creating. And I agree, it is a great opportunity to go and explore some of that content. So I have started looking to try to find, I believe it was 10 creators. So I've been looking to try to find this content. Like I do with everything, I'm looking for a bargain to try to find this. Several of the titles I'm kind of watching to see if I could find a decent deal on them. But one of them in particular, I was able to get my hands on the second volume and then go back and get my hands on the first volume. And it's called Black Osajyefo. This is the first collection by Black Mass Comics, Osajyefo, with art by Jamal Ingle, did this first collection. This was a 6-issue limited series by Black Mass Comics. The whole series is by Black Mass Comics. And spoilers, the basic premise is that the only people that have superpowers are blacks, which is a great premise and really ties itself strongly into the racial tension. It almost becomes an explanation for why there is some of this racial tension. But it is very overt in that tension, and it's really, it's weird that this existed before kind of the current time, because I would almost have read this and said, oh, I see how this came out of the current environment in the United States. But the reality is the current environment in the United States has really been the current environment in the United States for a long time. If you were a person of color, you'd be experiencing some of these things. And so while it feels like it should have come out of the current environment, it really came out of the racism that's existed in the country for hundreds of years. But it's a great premise. What happens is spoilers again, we have a character named Kareem that is discovered to have powers, but his powers are such that they are unique. They're adaptive. They can almost like use the powers of someone else. So there are multiple organizations that are vying to get their hands on Kareem. One is an organization that is trying to keep the fact that blacks have superpowers, keep it secret in order to protect blacks in general. And then the other organization is trying to get their hands on Kareem in order to tap into his powers and then try to start giving those powers to other people, i.e. non-black people, white, whatever, military usage, etc. There also becomes another faction that is a little more of a faction of that does not want to keep the fact that blacks have superpowers a secret, but wants to be more of a vocal and more overt than the covert organization that's trying to keep it secret. So there's kind of these three factions, and Kareem is in the center of this. They're all trying to get their hands on him. So it's a story about someone kind of coming to terms with their powers, but also coming to terms with their philosophy and their view on their role in life. And so it's kind of a growing up story for Kareem, but it is a very traditional comic book. Super interesting superheroes that are created. And Kareem, his superhero identity becomes X. He makes a brief appearance in the next one we'll talk about. But it's a great book. Highly recommend it. A new volume is due to come out anytime, so it's up for pre-order on Amazon. So I will be pre-ordering that and getting the third one. All by the same writer. I think all every series is going to have different artists, unless they find someone that kind of lives with it. So I highly recommend. I really enjoyed. I enjoyed this one. I knew Jamal Ingle. I knew I would enjoy the art. It was a lot more overtly comic than what I thought the second volume was when I read the second volume. So I felt like it was more traditional comic. The other one I felt a little bit differently about. So this one, the title has gone from black to black AF. And this is America's Sweetheart. So this is about, I'll read some of the back. Spoilers. This shouldn't be a spoiler. Ellie Franklin is a 15-year-old girl living in rural Montana, and she just happens to be the most powerful person on the planet. So she, ironically, lives in rural Montana. She creates a superhero persona called, I believe it's Good Girl. Her parents, she has white parents, and her father is, I think he's tied to into the government somehow. So she kind of gets tied into that. But this is a great story. I actually liked this story better than the original because of kind of some of the angles that were played on it. First off, she's 15 years old, so it shows the innocence of the decisions she makes, but shows the crazy spin that the population was putting on the things that she was doing that were not being done overtly, but were just being done. For example, again, spoiler, she goes into, there's some area that's being flooded. She goes into the area that needs the greatest amount of help, which happens to be a black neighborhood, and helps them. And so what happens is the media starts saying, oh, she's only helping blacks, and never her intention. She just goes where the need was the greatest, and that happened to be where it was. There was no racial profiling on her part to do it. But we get into some of the traditional comic when she encounters another superpowered person, and then has to kind of come to terms with, again, who she is, her identity, her status as a superhero, her relationship with this villain, etc. But I liked this one better. It just was a different story altogether. So the story of Kareem in the first volume is very overt and a little more aggressive. This one is, I don't feel is that, although the topics that are behind it are that. So all in all, I highly recommend it. This is a series that I would recommend, and I consider myself fortunate to have read the article to recommend this, that recommended this to read this. So as I mentioned, I will be pre-ordering the other volume once I don't remember if it has a release date or if it's to be released, but I will be ordering it. I'm going to stick on board with this. I'm really enjoying it. I love, regardless of the creator, but I love exploring the concept of like new universes. So new superheroes, new powers, just like, I love that. So like, back in the day in the 80s when Marvel came up with the new universe, I love that because it's basically, hey, we got like, everything is new. When Gerard Way came up with the Umbrella Academy, I loved it because they were brand new. Now, 3 volumes in, it's getting a little old, but I love when new is introduced. I just recently read Multiversity by DC, where you're starting to see these new universes and these planets or these alternate versions of Earth and these alternate universes, and it's all new. It's like a new playground to play in, and I love that stuff. And this is a great one that has a great premise behind it and is able to use that premise to address some of the things that are going on in the country. So I think that raises the profile of this book even more, that it is tackling bigger issues than superheroes that are punching and beating each other up. There is a very overt social messaging that is part of this book, and I appreciate that. So again, I will try to link the article below, but I highly recommend it. I recommend you find these, pick them up. They are easily accessible on Amazon, and you could probably find them potentially used on eBay. I think I may have gotten one of these on eBay, one on Amazon. So go check them out. Again, these are great books. Great comics. Well worth a read, well worth your time, well worth a place on your shelf. So go check them out. Let me know what you think. Again, I will try to link the article below if I can find it. And go check out some of those creators and let me know what you think. As I get more books from creators that were from that original list, I'll let you know, and I'll try to do some reviews of those as well. Until then, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.